Hey, today I'm doing a significantly more complex video than my previous ones, and it's on the Anodyne Iceberg. First off, if you haven't played Anodyne, then why are you watching this? I'd suggest checking it out, as it's a wonderful game. But anyways, let's just get on with it. Also, by the way, I made this Iceberg, and I'll link it in the description. Also, again, this only covers the first game. Okay, I'll actually continue now. The top. The Legendary Briar. The Legendary Briar is the main antagonist of the game and is mentioned throughout, specifically by the Sage. He is encountered as the final boss. After being defeated, he goes off to get a sandwich with Young for some reason. He's heavily implied to be the same as the Evil Darkness. Speaking of, the Evil Darkness. The Evil Darkness is an enigmatic force mentioned very occasionally. Basically nothing is known about it, but, as I literally just said, it's implied to be the same as the Briar. Archives. The Archives is a post-game dungeon accessible in the woods with a swamp. It contains portals to multiple other areas and contains a few items. Weirdly, it also contains numerous dead Youngs and has a grainy black and white filter over the area, much like in Youngtown. Blink. Blink is another post-game area accessible via the swamp. Interestingly, this area contains the beginning tutorial of the game as well as a number of labyrinthine hallways leading to other areas. Debug World. The Debug World is yet another post-game dungeon accessed from the secondary Nexus. It contains the original debug room of the game with various text rocks by Mellows talking about the development of the game. It also contains a large dungeon area with a few items. Swap. The swap is an item found in Go at the end of the game. It allows you to, well, swap any two tiles, which allows you to access numerous secret areas and gain the post-game collectibles. Link's Awakening. Link's Awakening is a Zelda game that heavily inspired Anodyne. That's, about it. Below the top. Card 49. Card 49 is a difficult to find post-game card found in the secondary Nexus. It requires usage of either the Wiggle glitch or the Void Warp glitch, both of which we'll cover later. It appears as a solid red block and is the only card that does not appear in the menu, as there's only 48 card slots. It allows access through the 49 card gate. Card 50. The card implied to exist through the 50 card gate is found at the end of the game. It, however, doesn't. There's a glitch you can use to get the menu to display a 50th card, but it still doesn't open the gate. Question mark, question mark, question mark items. I'm just going to call them question mark items from here on. Question mark items are difficult to find collectibles that serve no purpose other than having a description and being in your inventory. Most of them require the swap and are in obscure locations. Binding of Isaac Dungeon. In the Red Sea in the bottom left corner, you can walk through a couple of trees and enter through a hidden clearing into a small dungeon. The dungeon is a reference to the Binding of Isaac, a banger game, by the way. Even the music is a remix of a song from the game. The references were removed in later PC versions, presumably due to copyright, although it's still present in the PS4 version. Fun fact, the dungeon is technically part of the Red Cave. Cool, I guess. NPC Quest. The NPC quest is a string of dialogue from various characters beginning with Mitra in the Fields. It eventually leads to a hidden cave in Go that contains a carved rock that reveals the location of the overworld station, which allows access to the archives, which I covered earlier. It's all a dream. The entire game is confirmed to take place within Young's mind while presumably sleeping. Post-game cards. Similar to the question mark items, several cards in the game are only accessible with a swap, and are required to access the 49 or 50 card gate. These generally require you to find a hidden area and then get through a tough mini-dungeon to find it. The Middle. Stag. The Stag is a difficult-to-find secret NPC found in the deep forest, only found in a few rooms. It has only a 1 out of 100 chance to appear in the rooms or even can, and as such is extremely uncommon to unintentionally stumble upon. Blue Blob. The Blue Blob is an obscure NPC found in the apartment in a room to the right of the boss, only accessible with a swap. The Blob simply says, "Ah, you found me," and nothing else. Cool. In-game area names. A lot of areas in Anodyne have different names in the files compared to the in-game names. Here are some. Drawer for the Archives, Crowd for the Mountain Cave, Bedroom for the Seeing One Dungeon, Cell and Train for the Underground Labyrinth, and Overworld for the Woods. Neat. Cheat codes. If you press the down button 25 times from the question mark section of the inventory, you can access a hidden menu for inputting cheat codes. There are various ones you can put in with varying effects, from helpful to very unhelpful. Second color puzzle. In Go, you can use the swap to go left from the main garden area to find another color puzzle similar to the mandatory one in the main story, though it's much more complex. It's solved by finding some out-of-bounds huge numbers in the woods, which we'll cover later, which you can then use to solve the puzzle and get the red cube collectible. I'm assuming the devs realized it was way too obtuse to solve, because they made it until the chest is openable, regardless of whether or not you've solved the puzzle. Wiggle glitch. The wiggle glitch is a glitch that you can use to get out of bounds without the swap. To use it, you must move right and left rapidly between screens while holding up, which slowly moves you upwards. This glitch is required to access card 49. 2-hour wait. To access the green cube question mark item in the deep forest, you must wait 2 hours for a rabbit to cross a room. It's, really fun. Parallel universes. If you wiggle or swap left or right of any area, you'll access glitched and exact copies of the map, albeit with no objects or enemies. These are very useful for speedrunning. The depths. There's something past the 50 card gate. This rumor is, not true. I know because you can easily determine that with cheat codes. So don't bother looking for the 50th card, it's pointless. Void warp. This is a glitch and the second way to get card 49. It functions as such. If you hit the Return to Nexus button in the menu while falling down a hole, it'll move you up as many screens as frames you have left in your falling animation. If you use it on the holes in the terminal, you'll be brought up to card 49 and you can grab it. Useless clearings. There's an odd amount of useless clearings accessible only with a swap, most of which we'll cover later on. That's about it. Last obscure secret no one's found. In an AMA on Reddit, Milos Hantani, the co-developer of the game, answered a question from a person asking if there's any secrets no one has discovered. The answer was that there's just one. Multiple people have attempted to figure out what the secret is, but no one has succeeded. Trashed color puzzle. If you swap one screen up from the second color puzzle in Go, you'll find a strange room that looks like the second color puzzle, but everything is scrambled and messed up looking. It's very weird. Empty boss room. Once again, another secret in Go. If you swap up from the passage leading to blue, you'll find the boss room used in the fight against the Briar. There's nothing there and it's just empty. Weird. The Seeing One. The Seeing One is an NPC mentioned by multiple NPCs in the game, but not much is known about it. It's heavily implied to be the Seer, the first boss of the game. The Deep Depths. Large numbers in woods. If you swap north of the entrance of the Seeing One dungeon, you'll find a large black void filled with large numbers. These numbers act as coordinates for the second color puzzle, though you don't need to solve it to get the red cube anymore. Useless rooms in circus. Strangely enough, there are multiple useless rooms in the circus, such as a room with a bunch of holes and torches. There are also a few small corridors leading between rooms which don't even require the swap to find. One of them is just crossable, but the other has a bunch of holes you can't jump over. Neither of them are on the map. Weird. Red blob. If you swap and go down a staircase in a room in the red cave near the boss room, you'll find a small room with a big vibrating red blob smoking a blunt. If you go down, you'll find another useless room. I have no idea what these things are here. Red pellet room in fields. If you swap down the fields, you can find a small clearing with a bunch of red pellets. This room seems completely useless, and I have no idea why it's here. Terminal clearing. Going all the way north in the terminal, then swapping east leads to a small clearing that's completely useless. Cool. The bottom. Beach, top left room. At the top left of the beach, you can swap north to find out that the trees extend beyond the room they start on. Odd. The MGMT. A presumably group of individuals, who are mentioned extremely occasionally in the game. The name presumably stands for management. Either that or it's the band, I don't know. Temple of the Seeing One rocks. With users of the swap, oh my god, I thought it did not come out well. You can find some really weird and hard to interpret rocks with strange messages. Useless room in Binding of Isaac dungeon. If you swap to the direct center of the Binding of Isaac dungeon, you'll find a bunch of coins, or rocks if you're playing in a later PC version, with no point. Neat. Weird room in Nexus. If you swap left from the room with a beach warp in the Nexus, you'll find a floating platform with nothing on it and no point to it. The Follower. In the street, on a certain darkened screen, a strange creature follows Young for a few seconds and then disappears. Other than being on a post-game card, this creature is never mentioned again. Extra key in Hotel. The Hotel dungeon is an extra key you can find to save you from getting stuck. A surprising amount of people posted about this on forums. The Darkness. Door hurdling. Door hurdling is an obscure glitch only possible on the two staircases leading to and in the lowest level of the mountain cave, and functions as follows. If you jump over one of these two staircases, you can either get out of bounds or into the wall boss room, respectively. That's about it. Land Blend. It's a brand of makeup presumably named after the land where the entire game takes place. It's mentioned only once in a rock like in the circus, and allegedly gave a bunch of clowns fatal lung disease. Enemies dropped keys. According to a rock in the debug world, Melos originally made it so that enemies could drop keys but scrapped the idea. Unintelligible rocks in Blank in Archives. There are multiple carved rocks in Blank in the Archives that are basically unintelligible and seem to mean nothing. They're very strange. Peripheral Vision is the Hive of Demons. In a very dark room in the Seeing One dungeon, you can find a rock that says, well, Peripheral Vision is the Hive of Demons. I have literally no idea what it means. It doesn't even require the rock or swap to access, which is weird for such an odd sign. Red Sea's Ancestors. In a rock in the Red Sea, it mentions how the ancestors of the area formed the uneven terrain. No further mention of who the ancestors are was in the game. The Mother. Multiple rocks in the Red Cave dungeon mention a mother, but no context as to who this is exists. The Abyss. The last obscure secret doesn't exist. With how little info is out about it and how charted out the game is, it's very possible Melos is trolling us and the secret doesn't exist. Every swap secret is personalized. This is a joke. Shockingly. God, I wish it was true, though. There's something in the parallel universes. It's possible that something is hidden out beyond the boundaries of the main maps. Probably not, but with how much crap is hidden in this game, it's very possible. And that's the Anodyne Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, then feel free to check out my other garbage I've made. Leave any feedback you have in the comments, and I'll see you later. Bye.